Oh, Hangouts Live! Yay!
Yay!
Okay, so hi guys, welcome to the Bookinvaders live show where we'll be discussing the March book, which was Doon by Lorie Langdon and Carey Corp. And should we introduce ourselves?
Yeah.
Alright, I'm Kelly from Oh That's Kelly.
I'm Gabriel.
I'm Kara from Books and Things.
I'm Gabriel from As the Novel Progresses.
Alright, great. So first thoughts on the book, like overall, what did you guys think of the book as a whole?
I personally wasn't a very big fan of Doon. I do have some detailed problems with the book, but I think I can generalize it in the writing style. I had a really hard time getting through I think it was the dialogue. The dialogue really threw me off because it wasn't what I was used to reading, and so it didn't make the reading experience so great as other books did.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I wasn't a huge fan of it either, to be honest, and I had high expectations for it just because of like there's been a fair amount of hype surrounding it. But again, it's something that I wasn't really used to. Like, I haven't read a lot of historical Scotland books. I haven't read any, so I didn't really know what to expect. But I don't know, I kind of agree with Gabriel. Like, the dialogue and the writing style, it wasn't what I was used to, and I don't know, I had a hard time getting through it at times.
I agree. Like, at first when I started, I was really unsure of the book. I mean, I guess I liked it as a whole, but the writing style, I agree, was a little weird. Like, they kept using the words like bestie and BFF, and I was just like,
I know.
Made me cringe.
It's childish.
Yeah, I agree. But I did enjoy the book, actually. I didn't enjoy it like as much as I enjoyed, like, say, Kiss of Deception or like the previous books that we read on our book club. But it wasn't like too bad. It wasn't like too good. But I did enjoy. It was a good story.
I really like the plot. I think the plot was very original. But that's all for me. I think the rest kind of crumbled, and I actually didn't finish the book.
Oh, really?
I was trying, but I just don't know how it ends. I'm pretty sure I'm going to read the last chapter, maybe, but I the book is just, yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, it was the writing style that kind of was a turnoff. I mean, if it was written a little bit more maturely, and I guess like not how it was written, I think it would have been like so much better, because the plot was definitely really interesting and different from normal books that I typically read.
Yeah, it was really promising. Like, when I first read the synopsis, I was really interested in it, and like I'd never really heard about anything like that before, and so yeah, I thought that I would have enjoyed it, but yeah, it just really didn't work for me. And yeah, like, I agree with like the whole like bestie and like BFF thing. They kept like using that, and I just I didn't like that whatsoever. I
agree. What did you guys think of the characters? Oh, sorry, Gabriel, go ahead.
I think that maybe it was because these authors it's their first novel. It's the first time they've written anything. Maybe it was because of that. I'm not sure, and maybe the sequel might be a little bit better. I don't know, but I don't plan on picking it up. But maybe it was because it was the first time, but childish or not so mature. Maybe the next one is more.
Oh, so the characters. What did you guys think of Veronica and McKenna?
Gabriel, what did you think?
Oh, okay. I think I preferred McKenna over Veronica, maybe because we focused a little bit less.
Yeah.
I think because we focused a little bit less. We focused so much on Veronica, and Veronica just I didn't feel anything for her. She was just so generic. She was the same as maybe every teenager, with trouble in high school and relationship drama. It was kind of just I didn't connect with her. I didn't feel absolutely anything. And McKenna, although also kind of a generic teenager, we see more of a matureness in McKenna that we don't see in the beginning when McKenna doesn't believe in Doon and really wants to throw it on Veronica that maybe she's being a little bit childish. I felt like McKenna was a little bit more mature and as a character just better.
What did you think, Kara?
Yeah, I completely agree with Gabriel. Like, at first, I thought Veronica, I think that she had potential, and because, she didn't have a great life, and she has all of these problems, and I thought that, I don't know, she could have been less naive at times, because of everything that has happened in the past, but I really liked McKenna, actually. I think she offered some comic relief throughout the book, and kind of brought a lighter feel to it, and she actually was more mature, which I didn't think she would have been, but with her kind of relationship with Duncan as it progressed, I actually liked that relationship and that story more than I liked Veronica and Jamie's.
I agree. I felt like it was really focused on Veronica, and for me that kind of was just what happened to McKenna. What's the point of having another protagonist in the story if you're just kind of brush her aside and give her 5 chapters every now and then? But I definitely agree. McKenna was, I think, a stronger character, and all the stuff that happened to Veronica, especially from the very beginning, it's kind of can this really happen in real life? Is this realistic? Because bad things just kept happening to her, and I was this doesn't really seem kind of possible,
Definitely.
And back to writing style, I heard people saying that the two characters were different when you saw their perspective and points of view. Do you guys agree with that, or did you think they were kind of the same person but portrayed a little bit differently?
I felt the difference. Some books you really don't feel the difference. You think it's the same characters through different points of view.
Yeah.
But I think in this one I definitely felt the difference because, again, we focused so little on McKenna, and when we did get a McKenna chapter every now and then, I really, focused on it, and okay, finally we can focus on something. So I felt the difference, definitely.
What about you, Kara?
Yeah, I agree with that. When we did get McKenna, I actually enjoyed those chapters kind of more because I don't know, I just felt like they had more character and they were a lot more interesting, and I did like how this book focused on a lot of I don't know, because did you guys know that the bridge of Doon or whatever is an actual tale?
No, I didn't know that.
In Scotland, it's an actual thing. I don't even know. I didn't know that. So they focused it all on that. So I did like that. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know really what to say.
So talking about the Bridge of Doon. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Gabriel.
I just want to say that I really like the Scottish setting. I like the plot and I like the setting because it's Scottish and you get this castle folklore feeling, and I really like that.
Yeah, I agree. What did you guys think of going to the setting? Did you like the magical aspects it had, with that witch they mentioned and stuff like that? Did you guys like it, or?
You can go ahead, Kara.
Yeah, I really liked the witch aspect to it because if there hadn't been that whole witch kind of side story, I would have definitely given it a lower rating, I think, because it brought a lot more elements into the story, and I wasn't expecting that at first. So there was a few little plot twists with that. So it did kind of like, you know, grow the story a little, and I did like the magical aspects, and towards the end it got a little more interesting and played a bigger role. So yeah, I did like it.
Mm-hmm.
As for me, I didn't really get to know the witch because I actually put the book down right when Fiona was the character. She was explaining that the witch kind of grows stronger when Doon is weaker, and so for it, I actually like Doon. Just seemed way too perfect, and it just seems so picturesque, and something bad has to happen to the characters and to the land to make the book a little bit interesting, in my opinion. But since I didn't finish it, I can't really give an opinion.
Yeah, I agree with Kara. If it wasn't for like that magical aspect, like there wouldn't really be a plot line, you know, it would just be the love story and then like whether like the girls should stay in Doon or not. But if it wasn't for like the like antagonist of the witch, then there wouldn't really be a plot line. So I agree.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, I did really like. I mean, I did have a few problems with it because I felt like some things weren't really clearly explained. Like at times, I was kind of confused about like the witch's power and what she was able to do. But then, yeah, like it was kind of explained towards the end, so that was okay.
Yeah, I agree. What did you guys think of like the side characters like Fiona and Fergus? Like, what did you guys think of them?
I loved Fergus's and Fiona's like little romance. I think it was. I think that's their names. Like it was them. I think.
Yeah.
I kind of forget some of the characters' names because I read it like a month ago. But yeah, I thought their like little relationship on the side was like really cute. And whenever they had like a little moment together, I was just so happy because I don't know. Like even though they obviously didn't play a huge role and we don't know a lot about them, they were both like really loyal to like Jamie, and you know they stayed good the whole time, so I like that.
I also really enjoyed the side characters because again it was a little romance. It just focused so much on Jamie and Veronica and Duncan and Kenna. And I personally didn't really enjoy their romance. It was just so cringeworthy. But the romance between Fiona and Fergus was definitely a breath of fresh air in the middle of just so much, you know, forceful romance between two people that were really not attached to. So Fergus enters.
I agree. For me, it was like Jamie and Veronica's romance was a little sudden. Like at first, like I kind of liked how it was building because it kind of reminded me of like the Infernal Devices. Have you guys read those books?
I haven't. No.
Well, it kind of like reminded me of like that in a way, and I was like okay with that. But then it started getting like weird, like you know, towards the end when Veronica does that thing that happens and Doon almost, you know what I'm talking about. Then at like that moment when they were in that cabin and that was very cringeworthy for me.
Yeah.
I definitely. That's when I put the book down, basically. And I think that the romance is cringeworthy, and I think that it could be much better. And I felt like the characters were very bipolar. You know, they were always changing their emotions. There was a part where they were sitting on a cliff and they were alright, they were talking, and then all of a sudden Jamie just gets up and shouting that Veronica is unhealthy, that he has to focus on the kingdom, and I'm just, no.
Yeah, I felt like their romance, it was very like, it was back and forth. Like, it was, like at times, Veronica would be all for it. Like, she would be trying to, like, kind of make a move and try to get their relationship going, and then Jamie would just like leave, like physically, like sometimes he would get up and just kind of like leave without any explanation, and I thought that was liked those moments, and I thought that although Jamie was trying to make a point and he was trying to focus on like his kingdom and like that kind of thing, he didn't have to be so like rude all the time, because it always left Veronica just wondering what was going on, and it was just a lot of confusion with the relationship, and that was pretty much what it was built on. But I also think that Veronica kind of liked that mystery with him, just like every kind of like generic protagonist like kind of relationship. I don't know, I think they like kind of like the unknown, but I didn't personally like it that much.
Yeah, it was very sudden. Like, their whole relationship was very, like, sudden and abrupt, and it just, like, it would build a moment, and then it would just, like, suddenly, like, drop, and I don't know, it was bipolar, like you said, Gabriel, so I don't know, I didn't really like that.
No, me neither.
But I didn't like their romance, but I really liked what I read. It was the complete opposite. It grew up slowly, instead of, really suddenly, like insta-love with Jamie and Veronica. And you can see that McKenna is really struggling because she wants to actually have a career. She wants to go back, become an actress, and she's really struggling with that. And in Veronica, you just really don't see that. She's just really focused on Jamie and Jamie alone, and that, to me, just really did not work.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely liked Duncan's and McKenna's relationship a little bit more, because it was more sweet and innocent, and it did build by itself. It wasn't very, like, angsty kind of, like, insta-love. It was a little bit more natural, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, like, I felt like from the very beginning, Veronica, like, even before they, like, went into Doon, I think she kind of already was having all of these ideas about, like, if she got there, like, would she stay, or what would, like, Jamie be like, and I just think that she didn't really even go into it with an open mind. She just thought that, everything would have worked out, and she would have found Jamie, which she did. But I don't know, I just felt like she kind of already had her mind all made up, whereas McKenna, she went into it very skeptical, which I think is more realistic.
Yeah.
And
I agree with it.
Again, like, the relationship between McKenna and Duncan, it was natural, because going into Doon, McKenna didn't know who she was going to meet or really where she was going to go, which would have been the more realistic version.
Yeah.
That's a solid point, actually.
Yeah. I agree. What do you guys think of, like, Doon overall? Like, I mean, like, the place, not, like, the book.
I thought the place was okay. I didn't really differentiate it from actual Scotland. I've never been there, but I think it's right. It's like something inside Scotland, but with a little bit magic, and I really didn't feel the difference if it was medieval Scotland or just Doon, because it felt like the same, honestly. And the only thing that really made Doon stand out was the witch, was the villain in the magic element. Because other than that, it really didn't make a difference.
Yeah, like, if there hadn't have been, like, that witch aspect to it, it would have just been, like, a historical Scotland, and I mean, like, that's what they were kind of going for. And at first, when we first get our glimpse into Doon, and, like, when McKenna and Veronica first go there, that's basically, like, what we first see. Like, when they're describing the landscape and, like, the physical like, landforms and everything, like, that's what you kind of get the idea of at first, and we don't really get, like, Doon until kind of, like, later in the book with all of, like, the magical aspects to it.
I agree. There could have been more, like, a little bit more magical aspects, I didn't really like how they have like all that modern stuff. I mean, like aside from like the plumbing and stuff, like I really didn't like how they had like sushi and pizza because it kind of for me took away the element of like a historical medieval place called Doon that was in Scotland. It was just kind of like a random place like Disneyland that like people went to. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, yeah, like when they were like first, I don't know, I think they like went out for dinner and they were out in the town and like they had pizza and like that was okay. I was kind of like thrown off for a minute.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, this is supposed to be like a historical kingdom. Like, why are they eating pizza? And it seems like kind of like a modern restaurant, and that was kind of confusing. And also with the modern plumbing, it was kind of funny, like their reactions to it. But I think it would have been like even more interesting if everything would have been like not modern, like what they weren't used to.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have had to maybe learn more about like how to use those things, and I think that would have brought more into the story, even if it was just a little, instead of having everything like they need very convenient and what they were used to.
Yeah, I agree. Like the only thing that like I kind of got out of like Doon being in Scotland was like the fact that the guys had to wear kilts all the time, and the fact that like the girls couldn't wear pants and they can only wear dresses. Like that was kind of the only Scotland-ish like medieval-ish aspect I got from Doon, but overall it was just kind of random and not really, you know, a place that's magical and out of this realm.
To me, it was that. It was the outfits and it was the castle because everything else was just kind of normal.
Yeah. And I don't really. I know a lot of people like how. I don't know. I like. Sorry, I just words. I know a lot of people like when in books guys wear like kilts and stuff. But I didn't like that. Like whenever Veronica or McKenna would be talking, like about what Duncan or Jamie was wearing, and they would describe like their kilts, I would just cringe because I don't think that's like really attractive, or I don't like it.
I actually didn't picture them wearing kilts at all. Like whenever a kilt was mentioned, I kind of ignored it, and I thought they were just wearing, you know, garments of a prince or something, because them wearing kilts isn't exactly the medieval thing that I have in mind. Unless I actually went to Scotland and saw guys wearing kilts, I got off with the kilts. I honestly just ignored them.
That was probably the best decision because the kilts for me just like weren't a good thing at all.
No, not at all.
What did you guys think of our two main guy characters, Duncan and Jamie?
I liked Duncan more. I thought Jamie was kind of stubborn, and I thought they were very different, which is good because if they had been alike, I wouldn't have liked the book as much because I don't know, it would have just been like the same two characters and kind of like similar romances. So the fact that they were very different, like personality-wise, was good. But I think that like Duncan had more character and was better like in the relationship part, and I actually think that if the roles were like switched, if Duncan had been like the soon-to-be king or whatever, and Jamie had been just like the other brother, I think it would have worked more.
Yeah.
Because Duncan, I think, was like could have been a really good leader, but he was also a really good follower and loyal to Jamie too. So I guess it worked out. But yeah.
Mm.
I agree that Duncan was better than Jamie in so many aspects. I think that Duncan
Yeah.
felt more like a person because Jamie was at the beginning of the book he was like really stubborn and he was really mean to Veronica and I really did not like this.
Uh-huh.
But then towards the end, towards when I put the book down, they were just completely and madly in love and I kind of like why? It's like the robot and someone would like her and Duncan really felt more it felt like more of a person really. It felt like he loved Kenna and he was willing to demonstrate his love, be
Mhm.
with her slowly throughout the novel, not suddenly like Jamie. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah. Right off the bat, I really did prefer Duncan more. You know, when he just comes in and he just saves the girls from being like, you know, thrown in prison and stuff. And then Jamie's just kind of like they're very stoic, very unemotional, and I guess like after a while you kind of see his character develop, but like not really. It's more like an on and off switch. Like he'd be
Mhm.
like really warm to Veronica one minute, and then suddenly he turned like cold just like that. So for me, he wasn't like really like a character, but more like the love interest. Like he was supposed to be there to be a love interest,
Yeah,
not to be like a character.
Yeah, I
exactly.
think it was mostly just, yeah, I agree, like how Jamie wasn't really a character, but I think he was just kind of like thrown in there, meant to be uh, a way to get like Veronica to develop as a character because the more Jamie like hurt her or like warmed up to her, like kind of both ways, you know, she developed, and I did like seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't feel like Jamie's actions really affected himself. I think he just was, yeah, kind of like off and on,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really get it, and I thought that I really liked him at some moments,
Yeah.
but then, like, as a reader, we're kind of like thrown back and forth with this character, and we don't know if we can trust him or not. So, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Did you have any thoughts on that, Gabriel?
And Jamie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I kind of already said robot. It felt like he was there because he needed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Just character. He didn't feel like a character. He felt like a forceful intervention for Veronica to develop as a character
Mm-hmm.
and for Jamie. And yeah, I felt kind of forced that he was in the book.
Yeah, I agree. Did you feel like at any points of the book that it was kind of predictable, that you could kind of tell what was going to happen?
I didn't. I didn't. I definitely didn't feel that when I was
Mm-hmm.
reading, but just I don't know, something about it to read, and so I just really didn't focus on it unless I
Yeah.
was reading it, because other books I put them down and I start thinking about the characters, I start thinking about the story, where is
Mm-hmm.
it going to go from now, and Doon was just not like that. It was kind of a necessity where I
Mm-hmm.
read a little bit and then I had to close it because I was already tired and I did not want to think about the characters or the
Mm-hmm.
story. I needed a break, so for Doon it was just completely a question. It wasn't an attaching read. It was yeah, like a necessity.
Yeah. Like I didn't really care too much about what happened, and although like I didn't really find the book too predictable, like at times when something happened, I was kind of like shocked a little, but it of course it didn't make the book too much better.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't like ever too involved with the story, and I don't think I really like cared for the characters, and I never really, it never really mattered to me like if Veronica stayed or not. And I really like going back to McKenna as a character. I kind of cared more and wondered more about what she was going to do, because she surprisingly faced more like confusion and issues and stuff, and she had to make like a even bigger decision, because she really had a life back like in the real world that she wanted to get to.
I definitely agree. But for me, for some points and parts of the story, I did feel like it was kind of predictable. Like at the end, when they're faced with who'll stay in Doon and who won't, I kind of figured like the girl that would stay like in Doon and the girl that wouldn't stay. I kind of thought that that was kind of like foreseeable. The same thing with like when you introduce the two main guys in the story, like the love interests, I right away knew like who would be matched with who, you know what I mean? Like when they first like came to Doon and McKenna saw like Duncan and she immediately was like drawn to him, I knew right away like they'd be a match, and then of course like Veronica and then Jamie would be a match. So I kind of thought some parts of it were kind of like predictable.
McKenna went into Doon with such an open mind. She was not expecting that to happen. She was trying to prove Veronica wrong, and she just was completely caught by surprise with Duncan and with the people in Doon and with Doon. And Veronica was just Jamie. She was so close-minded. She was Jamie, like a funnel, you know. It's just that's really in the book. There are lines that you're like, doesn't she care for her life? And so McKenna on that aspect really felt more relatable, as in she was caught by surprise with everything, and Veronica wasn't. She just really cared about making Jamie feel for her what she felt for him, and it felt really forced. So I think so. I don't know who goes, but I definitely care more for Kenna.
Yeah, I think that kind of like the characters were designed like to be matched. So like McKenna's character and Duncan's character, they were written, you know, like knowing that they would be love interests, and I felt like Jamie and Veronica's characters were kind of, I don't know, it's almost like they weren't developed enough to have like a good relationship with each other, and their two characters like kind of clashed, and I would have never like, of course it was obvious from the beginning that they would have some sort of relationship, but I wouldn't have really like I didn't really like it that much, and it was like predictable, but it wasn't most enjoyable, like, reading about.
Did you, like, feel like, you know, Veronica and McKenna are portrayed as, like, best friends? Did you feel like they were best friends, or did you feel like they were just kind of, like, I don't know how to put it, but...
Like, just friends.
Yeah.
I felt like they were best friends. You definitely get that feeling that they're besties. BFFs, but their relationship depicted in the book is just so childish. It's like they're 11-year-olds, not 18-year-olds. They're throwing pillows at each other and they're giggling about everything, and it felt like they were besties, but it didn't feel like they were besties for their age.
That's a really good point.
Younger and
like, I didn't feel like they were 18 years old. Like, I kind of felt like they were more like 15, 14. Sometimes I'd forget, like, oh, they're 18 and they're going off to college soon and stuff like that. But it was hard to picture, like, their age. But I definitely agree. Like, they were, like, friends, but at the same time, I felt like they weren't, like, mature best friend-wise. Like, they talk about, like, boys and stuff, but, like, they didn't seem like they were, like, really, like, there for each other, maybe because the characters were just kind of like superficial in a way, but I definitely got the gist that they were best friends, though.
Yeah. I think that their friendship was like strong all the way through. And they were there for each other. And I did like how they trusted each other and they didn't like lie to each other. There might have been, I don't know, I think there were like a few times in the book where they were kind of iffy on like telling each other something. But for the most part, they were very loyal to each other, which was nice. Because, I don't know, that just makes the story, I don't know, go along a little bit more. And, I don't know, like, they were there for each other, but, I don't know, I maybe would have been more surprised if they had actually lied to each other, because then that would have been, that would have brought in some, like, betrayal and some fighting, and if it would have been done in, like, a more mature way, then it maybe would have been, like, enjoyable to read about.
I agree. So, like, of course, like, since it takes place in Scotland, they, of course, have, you know, Scottish accents. Could you guys picture the Scottish accents at all?
I couldn't.
A little bit. I could kind of a little bit because of the way it was written. The way it was written really bothered me. I didn't like it at all. I would much rather it would be written simply, you know, in English, and then, like, comma, they said in a Scottish acting experience, much better. And even though it was written like that, I really couldn't hear the Scottish accent. Maybe if it was in a movie, it would definitely make more of an impact if it was in a movie, but unfortunately it wasn't.
Yeah, I couldn't picture it. So go ahead, Kira.
It took me a while to like get into the writing style, and even then, like, I didn't love it at all. But like, it took me longer to read than usual because of like this new language we had to kind of like decode, I guess. And I don't know, like, every single sentence, it was formed in a way that like we're not used to, and that's the whole point. I mean, it's like historical, and they obviously like spoke differently, and they spoke like that, but it was just hard to get through sometimes because I was too focused on trying to translate the sentence and what they were kind of like trying to say, instead of actually like absorbing the meaning of it. And like, I kind of got lost in the story at times because I was just focused on like trying to follow along about like what was being said. So yeah,
I couldn't picture either. Like, sometimes it's hard to picture like what a Scottish accent sounds like, because for me, I was kind of picturing like a more Irish accent, and yeah, like, I wasn't too sure, and like, I guess the way it was written helped sometimes, but sometimes it just got me even more confused, because like some words would be easier to tell, like, oh, this is like you, and like this is to, and stuff like that, but other words were like, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, and it never really explained.
Yeah.
And it's much harder when you're not accustomed to a Scottish accent. You know, I've seen maybe in a movie or in a TV series. I've never been too familiar with any type of accent. So, except, you know, the British one, which is really easy to follow. But other than that, you're not accustomed to reading and picturing, hearing it in your mind with that accent, because you're not used to hearing it anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. Do you guys have any final thoughts on the book before we wrap it up and announce our April Book of the Month?
Overall, I thought the book was okay.
Same. I thought it was a little bit than okay. I thought it was a little bit. I definitely think that it would work so much better as a movie if it had the right director and the right casting department, it would make an amazing movie. And I think people, like, whoever is in charge of that, should really turn their focus toward Doon, because if Doon was a more serious, it had a more serious tone to it, I think it would be very, very, you know, popular. It could potentially be a very popular franchise. And I think that a book, as a movie.
Yeah, I agree. The book for me wasn't completely amazing like everyone made it out to be, but I kind of did enjoy it. I wish it was written a little bit more maturely and the characters were a little bit developed more, but overall it wasn't completely terrible and it wasn't, you know, the best. It was really okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was kind of just like mediocre. It wasn't extremely good, but it wasn't the worst thing I've read either. I've read a lot worse, so I did keep that in consideration.
Yeah.
But I thought that, you know, the characters in the world could have been taken a little bit more seriously, as well as the romance, especially the romance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that, you know, the plot had a lot of potential. It was very original, and that's why I really enjoyed trying it out, because it's something that, you know, I wasn't really familiar with. But now I know that maybe historical Scotland kind of thing, that isn't my cup of tea. But maybe I'll give it another try.
Yeah.
Sometime, because it might have just been the way it was written. So I'm just trying to kind of like remember that. But yeah, overall probably like 3 stars, maybe 3.5.
Yeah.
If I'm being generous.
Yeah. Would you guys read the sequel?
Probably not.
No, me neither. I thought that like that was enough for me. Like that one book. You know, I don't really need to know what happens to the characters. I don't really have any interest, and let's face it, we all have tons of other books that we want to read.
That's true.
But yeah, I'm probably not gonna pick it up. You know, I'm already kind of like out of that world, and I won't probably go back to it.
All right.
We weren't attached to the character, so I don't really feel any motivation to continue.
Yeah.
If I was stranded on some island and that was the only book, obviously I'd read it. But I'm not really willing to waste my money and waiting 2 weeks for it to arrive, so I'm probably not going to pick it up.
Okay. So for our book for the month of April, I know Every Day by David Leviathan was suggested. Are we okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
I've never heard of it, but I'll check it out. I'll see.
Okay. So I guess that will be our book for April, but if there's any like other suggestions, then we'd be totally open to it. But we're down for reading any contemporary book for April.
Yeah, so, I like how we kind of go back and forth.
Yeah.
Like with the genres. Yeah.
Keeps it interesting. So thank you to anyone who has watched this live show, and we will see you in the month of April on someone else's channel. So thank you guys for watching. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.